Hi everyone, this is Dave from Geekanoids and welcome to the first in two videos covering Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference for 2013. Now just yesterday Apple held their keynote where they announced a whole host of new things including software and hardware. In this video I'm going to be talking about the software. If you want to check out what new hardware they released, look at the links underneath this video. You can click through and learn all about the new Mac Pro, Macbook Air and some other new hardware they announced as well. So this video is all about the software, and Apple kicked things off with Mac OS X, and they really seem to be having fun with the keynote announcement. They seemed a lot more relaxed in the way they were telling us about the news, that even the jokes they were making about the new naming of Mac OS X, saying they were thinking of possibly calling it Sea Lion. But they were only kidding. They've actually come up with a new naming convention, and the next version of the operating system for their desktops and laptops is going to be called Mac OS X Mavericks. And then they covered off a lot of the new features. The highlights for me were the new Finder. The Finder has long been overdue a refresh, and they've finally given us tabbed windows. Now that might seem like a small thing, but normally you'd have to have multiple windows open up for different locations on your hard drive. Now you can just have one window open with tabs across the top of it, making for very easy navigation. They've also enhanced search for when you're trying to find files that you've actually saved to your hard drive, and they've done this by giving us a tagging feature. So when we save a document, we can give it a tag, perhaps important, website, Apple, whatever you want to give it, and then these appear within the left-hand panel of the Finder window and allow you to quickly find documents with those tags, and you can of course search by tags as well. Then they went on to tell us that they've really enhanced multiple display support. So if you've got more than one screen attached to your Mac, or perhaps a secondary display on your iMac, we all know that in the current version of Mac OS X this isn't handled very well indeed. Well, they've done more of a fix on this one, but also added some functionality as well. You've got dock control, so when you go to your second display you can summon the dock onto your second display, and you can also use AirPlay connected screens as a secondary or third display as well. This is really cool. If you own something like an Apple TV, you can put up your secondary display on whatever your Apple TV is connected to. There's also big performance increases. This is really exciting because as we get faster processing times with new processors coming into play, we also get a much more refined OS X, and it's really given us big benefits when it comes to performance on our Macs. There's also new versions, of course, of a lot of the Apple software, including Safari, and this always makes me laugh. They come up with this terminology for how fast things work, and it is nitro fast. So we now have a nitro fast Safari. All of the other apps seem to be coming along with updates, including Mail, Calendar, Notifications, and of course Maps getting an update as well. Notifications was quite interesting though. When a notification pops up in the corner of your screen, if it's an email notification, you can reply right within the notification sort of window without having to open up Apple Mail, for example. We've also got background app updates. How cool is that? So it seems again like a very small thing, but instead of having to launch the App Store application and then initiate all of the updates, it actually does it in the background all the time. Now it's coming in Q4 of this year. The beta is available now for developers, so some people are testing this out as we speak, and then we're going to get a public beta possibly, and then later in the year we're going to get the full version of Mac OS X Mavericks. Then Apple moved on to what we'd all been waiting for, which is the new version of iOS, iOS 7, and that's for things like the iPod Touch, the iPad, and of course the iPhone. And there were a lot of rumours before this announcement was made, and it makes me laugh because a lot of people were saying it's going to be a really flat design and it's going to look very plain and stale. And they really have released a rather elegant new design. They've really tried to think outside the box on this one. A lot of early reports from the people that I follow on Twitter are saying that it's sort of trippy and quite sort of childlike in its appearance, and I'd sort of agree where they're coming from, but Apple had to be brave. They had to try and introduce some new design flair to iOS without changing the user experience too much, because otherwise people would move to another platform. They wouldn't like the big change. So we've got a new lock screen, we've got newly designed icons, we've also got devices that react when you move them, so it sort of gives you a nice depth to perhaps the wallpaper that lies behind the icons, almost as though you're seeing around behind the icons. So that's really nice. We've also got multiple pages within folders. So no longer are you restricted to the number of apps you can add to a folder. It comes up with a whole page and then you can scroll through the various pages. We've also got new gestures. We've got a side gesture that you can swipe in from the left side of the screen to sort of almost like a sneak peek that we saw on the BlackBerry OS X, where you can just take a little sneak peek at what's behind, or you can move backwards in the browser. So some nice sort of different gestures there. We've also got Control Center, which gives us quick access to the main controls, and you can swipe up from the bottom of the screen to access that. And you can access things like your brightness, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, etc. Even turn on a flashlight. So no more do we have to have a separate app for a flashlight. Again, what seems like a small thing should have happened a long time ago, but we finally got it in iOS 7. New multitasking, and this seems like true multitasking as well, rather than frozen state apps. Instead of having to scroll through and X out all different apps that are running in the background or are frozen in the background, we've got big previews on the screen of the various apps that are running, and we can just swipe them off the screen if we want to close them down. We've also got new Safari, of course, in iOS 7, and that gives us a new tabs design and full screen browsing. And we've got new AirDrop sharing as well. So we've got AirDrop on Mac OS X on our desktops and laptops at the moment, where we can drag files onto icons of other users. You can now do this to share files on your iOS devices between users as well. A new Photos app, which is organized into moments, and you can drill down into specific moments that you've captured photos, or right the way back up to yearly view to show you all the photos you took within a particular year. And of course, we've got filters to alter the way photos look, and the new sharing options as well. The camera's been revised, so a new interface for the camera, again with filters, much like what we've been used to using in something like Instagram, but they're now in the native camera app. And a new Siri interface as well, with new voices and much more intelligent control over your device. You can actually tell it to turn Bluetooth off or on from Siri. So hopefully that will revitalise people's use of the Siri application. iOS in the car, they didn't really tell us a lot about this, but basically it's going to give us more integration within main manufacturers' car systems. So your iOS screen is sort of more or less replicated on the screen that's built into various cars. We've had an App Store redesign as well, so this falls into place with how iOS 7 looks as a whole. As have we also had a new service called iTunes Radio. This is really interesting. It's a music discovery service, and it's available on all devices, not just the mobile devices, on the desktop as well. It allows us free streaming of music. It is ad supported, and you can pay to get rid of the ads, but a very interesting sort of music discovery service. So well done on them for bringing us that. Now the beta for iOS 7 is available now. So people have got their hands on it already for testing. So if you are a developer, you'll be using iOS 7 already. If you want to actually use the full release, we're expecting that later this year. My thoughts on all of the announcements. Well, going back to Mac OS X Mavericks, I absolutely love some of the new features they've introduced. Really excited to get my hands on it when it comes out full release. I don't generally test betas on the Geekanoids channel. I prefer to test the product when it's ready for public use. The same goes for iOS 7. I don't really test betas, although I might with this one. I really want to get it in front of my eyes and get my hands on this new interface. It looks very exciting, long overdue. I think they've changed it up enough. It does look a little bit childlike. They might refine that for the final release, but certainly they've given us a lot of new toys to play with without changing the user experience too much. So that's it for this WWDC 2013 update on the software that Apple announced. Again, if you want to check out what hardware they announced, please do click the link underneath this video and see what I thought of the new Mac Pro and MacBook Airs and the other hardware they announced too. Thanks very much for watching. Please do hit that like button, and I'll see you all in the next one.